Welcome to Learning Life Skills Together. This is our weekly community Zoom meeting where our guests help us to go deeper into the 4 life skills and open up a huge array of chances to practice them. I'm going to say hi, everyone. This is our weekly community meeting number 20, and we are recording at the Tredyffrin Public Library. So we're really happy to have some folks here with us who may ask some questions from time to time as we talk about learning life skills together. This program that we're rolling out first through Chester County and then across the state of Pennsylvania. And so all of our podcasts begin with a practice. And so we do a practice of, this time, paying attention. That's our first skill in the 4 skills of life skills. So I just want to invite you to pay attention right now to what's around you, to where you are. So we can do that with our eyes. We can notice the room that we're in. We can see the people that we're with. We can hear the sounds. And I have to say, this room has really nice acoustics. So I can really hear well in here. So you could notice now what you're feeling inside. So what is it like for you in your body right now? Are you tense? Are there places where the body's tight? Are there places where it's softer and loose? How is your breathing? Is it deep or shallow? Long or short? Just noticing that. And so you feel very peaceful. Okay. Okay. You just came from a baby shower. Oh my goodness. You must have some really interesting emotions happening. Oh, wonderful. Let me see. So thank you for that. So just it's the microphone around as we get going here. So yeah, so we like to know what's happening around us and what's happening in us. Because this is the first of the 4 skills. So let me take one step back and tell you where this program comes from and sort of why it's here, what we're attempting to do. So you might have noticed that last week, I think it was last week, it might have been within the last 7 days, they released this look at the happiness level of different age groups in different countries. And what they found was the youth in the United States are somewhere like 62nd among the 100 nations that they looked at. 62nd. And for older groups, it's not that low. We're actually like, up in the 10, somewhere around there. So our children are really, suffering in many ways. And we know that the pandemic really brought a lot of mental health issues to the fore with our young folks. And it was actually it's true that even before the pandemic hit, we had a pretty big crisis happening with the young people. And so, what's going on there, and what can we do? The big crisis is that it's hard to get everyone treated. It's hard because we don't really have the resources to do that in the community. So while we were sort of looking at this sort of post or in the middle of the pandemic, um, our state senator, Carolyn Comita, came to me and said, I want to do something that's preventive, that's going to help kids be more resilient and sort of avoid the kinds of crises that seem to be happening among our youth. So, what can we do? And so, my immediate thought was there's four skills that we teach the kids who get into crisis. So the main therapies that we use for kids in crisis actually directly teach them these skills. So the idea was, why not teach them the skills before they're in crisis? Why not teach them the skills starting from the very beginning? I mean, you can teach these kids these skills to kids that are, 2 years old. You can actually do some of these things with infants if you think about it, if you think it through, right? So we thought, who better to teach this than parents, grandparents, other carers, as I like to call them? There's so many people who work with kids and care about kids that have the opportunity to just model these skills, which is really a strong way of teaching, and actually share them a little bit. So the program looks like this. It says, let's take these four skills. The first one is paying attention, which we just did. And we actually ended up feeling kind of calm just from paying attention to what was happening with us and noticing our emotions and noticing that, those emotions are really pretty nice, right? I mean, in this moment. So if we can do that kind of thing with the kids, they're learning this first sort of foundation skill. Because if I know what's happening with me, and I can feel my own feelings, then maybe I have a chance of working with my feelings. So that's the second one, is working with our emotions, right? And we all know how to do this as successful adults. We just don't necessarily share it with the kids. And we don't necessarily do it all the time, I have to say. I've noticed that about myself, that I'm not always effectively regulating my emotions, right? Sometimes things hang out a little bit. So, so we have attention, emotion regulation, and then the next one is, what if we're in a situation that we don't like, that isn't going to change immediately, and that we can't change? So, how do we tolerate distress? Right? This is the next skill. How do we get ourselves through tough times? We all do it, right? I have a test tomorrow for the kid, So the kid is saying, I have a test tomorrow. I'm really worried about it. I'm really anxious. How am I going to get through until I take the test? Right? We know how to help with that, right? We know that you can look at that and help to tame it by saying, oh, I'm feeling anxious. We could help to tame it by taking some deep breaths, right? And calming ourselves a little bit. And we could distract ourselves for a while. So all of those ways of working, we have available to us, they're already there. We already know what they are. But are we sharing them, and do we do it ourselves? Those are kind of the questions. And the final one is effectively communicating. So wouldn't it be great if the 3-year old that we're walking through the Acme with could say, Mommy, Grandma, whatever it is, I'm feeling scared right now. Instead of melting down on the floor in the middle of the line in the Acme, right? So, so how do we get to that place? The kids need to pay attention, understand what's going on with them, and have vocabulary about their feelings. So this is one of the things that we really know is helpful is if I can name my feelings. I can tame my feelings. It's called name it to tame it if you want to be fancy about it, right? So those are the 4 skills. Now, what we're doing in this program is we're expanding our ability to do that by saying there are 4 sort of activity buckets that you could reach into to do things that let you share and also that are healthful in and of themselves, right? So the first one is walking. So the first one is moving your body, essentially. When we move our body like that, when we go for a walk together, we have an opportunity to share our attention. We have an opportunity to work with our emotions. And we have an opportunity to sort of do other things as well. So that walking, which is healthful in itself, even 10 minutes, we often hear about the 10,000 steps that you're supposed to take every day to help yourself be healthy. But if you do that, if just walk for 10 minutes, we've found that that is physically helpful and mentally helpful. So people who use their bodies, who get their bodies moving, actually have less anxiety and less depression. So we can really just help in that very basic way. You know, let's go for a walk. This program was developed with consultation with 2 psychiatric nurse practitioners. And one of them said to me when we were first starting to put this together, if we could get parents to walk with their kids 10 minutes every day, we would actually change the world. And I agree with that. I mean, I think that the opportunities that come out of that are really what we're trying to get to. And the fact that it's only 10 minutes a day, is something that seems to me to be doable, you know? So, so we're trying to get this idea out to do these things with folks. So, so we have walking as one thing you can do. We have experiencing awe and beauty. So if you walk outside and look around you outside, you can experience the sky and the clouds all in that 10 minutes. And we know as well from scientific studies that that helps our mental health and our physical health, right? So then, okay. Okay. So then we can make things together. Another 10-minute thing. Let's make breakfast. Let's make dinner. Let's make a picture. So it's really, really simple things that we're asking people to do with their kids to share these things. The final one is belonging. And so I'm a professor of public health at Westchester University. And one thing that we know is people who belong in community, who have some social connections, are healthier mentally and physically than people who are lonely, than people who don't have that. And so, if we can help our kids to be connected with others, we're doing an amazing thing for them. So, those are our four skills and our four things to do. Our four activity buckets. Those can look like anything, right? What's belonging like? Being on a team, belonging to your religious congregation, um, being with your extended family to do things. All of these have an effect on the children. And so before I leave those, I want to see if maybe there's a question or a comment from anybody. Does that make sense what we're trying to do here? Yeah. Safe. Yeah. Yeah. It does indeed. That sense of safety is really so important. And it's the thing that, you know, parents and carers can really help to build for the kids. You know?
For sure. Mostly if it was a young child, I was thinking our teenager. So much needed.
Oh, so absolutely is that, this is for every age of children. And in fact, in the opening pieces that we have in the online course, we have a piece on working with teenagers and a piece working on or working with younger kids, because it's really for everybody. And here's a secret way in which it's for everybody. Okay. Is that when we as the parents or carers are practicing these things, we're not only modeling them for the kids, we're actually changing the dynamics of the household, right? Or of the group that we're with. Because if we're paying attention, if we're regulating our emotions, if we're tolerating our distress and being calm in that time, it's a safer, calmer place to be for the kids. So it actually changes the whole thing. And so with teens and tweens, that's really important, is to be able to come home or come to a place that feels safe, a place where you can be you know. So important. So, so thanks for those comments there. Let me talk a little bit further along that line. So one of the things that it's become apparent is really useful with this program is that there are those kids who are in crisis, and the kids get to treatment, right? The kids get to treatment. It's not easy because we don't have a lot of capacity for mental health treatment for our kids. We get our kids in, it's great. And what should be happening is the parents should also be getting a piece of that so that they can support the kids. And so this program being drawn from the major therapies that we use with kids really lets the parents have a taste of that, to understand it, to demonstrate it, model it, and to help change that atmosphere in the household for the teens so that they feel safe and supported, right? So this program really is for everyone. So, so how does this program work? Right? That's the next thing. So we wanted to have something that was really, really easy for people to do, for adults to do. So this is built for your smartphone. Okay. It's not, you don't have to take it on a computer. You don't have to do anything fancy. It's an online course. You simply sign up very easily. We want a first name. You could make it up, even if you wanted to. We need a an email so that we can communicate with you and prompt you to take the next course as it comes out, right? And then we just ask for your date of birth, just the year, and your zip code so we can collect some understanding of who's using the program. That's it. You sign up and you are immediately inside the course, which is on a very easy, intuitive learning management system. You take one module at a time, and the modules are broken down into 5 minutes or less. So you can fit in learning this stuff pretty much any time. So you just call up the next 5 minutes, listen, practice it. There are videos, but it's not necessary to see the video part. They're just supporting photos and words. So you can listen to it in the car as you're commuting, as you're doing your chores. So we're really building this around the very, very busy lives of parents, right? That was the essence of this, was to really have something that people can just keep coming back to. And so not only do we have these little short modules, so in the total course, there's a 20-minute introduction broken down into 5 minutes a piece. There are then four modules for each of the four um, skills, and we also talk about the four um, activity buckets. Each of those is a half hour total. So it's like 2.5 hours total to do all of the content, 5 minutes at a time. And then we support you. So every week we have a meeting. We've been doing the meetings live from Westchester, and this is our first time taking it out into the world to let people know a little more about the program, and um, to have a chance to ask questions and comment about what's there. So the next sort of piece of this is what we're doing with the podcasts. So the podcasts are in support of the skills and of the activities. So we have talked about kids in crisis with, for example, the psychiatrist in chief at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, right? We have talked about walking with a professor from the kinesiology department at Westchester, talking about that fact that just getting ourselves moving in the world is so good for us. And she gave us, the scientific look at that, how walking for 10 minutes can really turn your mental state around, your psychological state. Oof, your psychological state can shift just by walking or just by being outside, even. We have talked with um, one of the education people at the Brandywine Museum of Art and talking about how looking at pictures, seeing beauty in that way can really change us, can shift our mood. So when we pick up one of the little ones and put them on our laps and look at a picture book, we don't have to take even the time for the whole picture book. We can look at one great picture and talk about it and talk about how it makes us feel. Right. So we've talked about fishing with a fishing guide because there's walking, there's being in nature, there's experiencing awe and beauty, right? We've done two things with people from the bird watching community. So a woman with a um, a new book that just came out. She lives in California and looks at California birds, and is very interested in hummingbirds, for example, which unfortunately we don't get to see so many of. But her book is called Keep Looking Up. And that's why we brought her onto the show, really, was, you know, keep looking up. This is it. If we feel ourselves getting down in the dumps and we step outside our door and look up, there's a bird there. Chances are good. There's also the sky, there's also the clouds moving. And that's also good for us. So we work with these kinds of things. My favorite is last week's, where we had a guitarist on, and we looked at how music can help us find and understand our emotions. And so he played little pieces, and we paid attention to how it felt within and expressed it. And so it's doing all of the kinds of things that we're hoping that parents will do with their kids, sharing a little bit of time, you know. So we listened to, you probably know the song, the Bob Marley song, Three Little Birds. And so he sang just, a little bit of that. And we looked at how we felt. And if a parent or a grandparent or a carer would spend those 4 minutes with a kid just streaming that, you don't have to play the guitar like this guy did, just let's listen to this and see how we feel. You know, it puts the kids in touch and it gives them language about their emotions, which is for me the key thing, to be able to pay attention, to be able to say what's going on. For those kids under 10, if they can do that, they're going to have a smoother experience than they have. So I'm wondering if you have a comment there. A question? So teachers can take the course and use this. So we're hoping that it will go into the schools that way. And what we're really trying to do is empower the parents, because they're the ones who have the kids all the time, all across that infancy through tweens and teens, so they know exactly where their kids are and what they need. And that's hard for teachers. So this sort of one-on-one kind of mentoring and constant modeling is how these things happen. So really one of the things that we say is that this is all about practice because you can know these things in your head, but if you're not doing them, they don't get down in and become part of your life. And that's what we're really hoping for. So when we say go for a 10-minute walk with your kid, we mean do that 3 times a week forever until they walk down the aisle with somebody else, right? Just just do it. Just take the opportunities as they show up to share these skills. That's that's the thing. So we would love it if teachers were doing this. We would love it if they were thinking in this way because they can respond, in the same way, right? Wow, what's everybody feeling right now? I would love to hear teachers talk about that, like right after reading a story. How does everybody feel about this? What's going on? Did you have that big chance for vocabulary, for communicating effectively, for calming yourself? All of that kind of stuff. Part of the reason that it's 5 minutes at a time is that when you're in crisis, it's hard to concentrate for very long. And so to be able to take this stuff in a little bit at a time is part of it. But the other part is that on our homepage there is a part of it that's built for people whose kids are in crisis. And so we refer them to the 988 number, which is the mental health crisis number. We most people are trained to dial 911 when there's a crisis. And that's not necessarily the best thing to do with a kid who's, acting out in trouble. So if you dial 988, you are connected with a counselor. And here's the astonishing fact. Somewhere well over 90% of the calls can be resolved on the phone with the counselor so that it doesn't need for the police to come to the door, doesn't need for you to take your child to the emergency room where it's scary and sometimes loud and more of a problem. So we try to send people, to that number, and there's 5 videos there that help them say, okay, what should I do for myself? Because this is the other thing. Our kid gets in crisis and then we get in crisis, right? We are having a hard time regulating our emotions and tolerating the distress. And so we walk parents through 2 skills that help them to be able to do what needs to be done. And then we have 2 informative pieces, that one for older kids and one for younger kids, saying, here's what you need to be thinking about. And then finally, we say, when everybody's safe, come back and take this course because you'll need to be supporting your child with these skills and with these opportunities to practice. Does that get at something of what you?
And I think with parents working today, that they're forgetting that their children really do need them to be involved in their lives. Want to relax when they want to turn on the TV or their.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it. We're saying you need to calm down. You need to be able to relax. You need all that. And for 10 minutes, could you go for a walk? Because it's actually going to help you and that's going to help your kid. It's that intertwining nature of that. That if the parents go for the walk and calm down, then the kids are going to calm down too, because we are so contagious emotionally to our kids. They're feeling our stress. We come home, we're stressed out. That's those are the nights. It's like it's like a joke, right? Oh my God, I really need everybody to be quiet right now. Never going to happen. But if I'm able to calm myself, everybody else will give me the space, right? Fabulous. So, how do you think we can get more people involved on Facebook and Instagram as learning life skills together? Just people can just look that up that way. Yes. So we are working with CHOP that I mentioned before and Chester County Hospital. Yeah, all of them we should be in. You're right. You're right. And that's another thing that we're yeah. Yes, absolutely. Wouldn't it be great if primary care doctors would just say, "Hey, you ought to brush up your life skills because it's really going to help your kids." I mean, this is what's weird about this. If weird might not be the best word, but unusual about this program is that it's for prevention. So much of our talk is about what to do with the kids who are already in crisis rather than how do we have a culture where kids aren't in crisis so much. That's what we're after here. Okay. Thank you. I want to thank everybody who came today. So, one of the things that we created because we love the libraries, there are access to so many things, right? If you want to take your kid to the Brandywine Museum, you can get the free pass to the Brandywine Museum and go. Um, and you want a picture book? Take out a stack of 20. That's what I used to do with my daughter. Of course, my wife is a librarian, so we kind of lean into books. But, you know, to get 20 and just let them sit. Let them find the ones that they like and then sit with them and tell the story or tell the story of the picture. Libraries are a great place to be, and I really also want to thank Tredyffrin Library for promoting this for us and for hosting us here. So, so we'll get it out there. We'll get it out there. We're working on it. Thank you so much.